It's time for Clubhouse Chatter. Here's Norm.
Hey, that's right. Hey, thanks for another Sunday in Clubhouse Chatter. We are back this week, and our first guest this morning is Jim Campanis Jr., one of our favorite guests. I think he's been on the show more than anybody else, except for maybe Carl Erskine. It's pretty close. But Jim, how you doing?
Oh, that's great company to be with, Carl Erskine. But yeah, hey, thank you.
I think it's Carl and oh man, I have to look to see. There's a couple of you that are up there, and so it's been a while since we've chatted.
Yeah, lots of stuff going on, and even though it's not technically baseball season, I'm actually on my way to a batting lesson, out in Southern California. I'm doing this book is like, it's opened up a whole bunch of like different things for me that I just never had anticipated or even thought I would be doing. And it's a wonderful thing. And it's actually the first time in many years where I'm actually not staring out the window waiting for spring to come. I'm actually, still playing baseball, and I'll be throwing about 150 pitches to this kid in a few minutes, and loving it. This is I think this is the new secret, is just keep baseball going 12 months of the year. That's what you got to do.
That's not a bad thing. One of my favorite memories of living down in Southern California was, I remember it must have been in December of '88. There in Palm Springs, I went to the stadium, Angel Stadium there, and they were hosting, I believe it was the Tokyo Giants. And they had, a bunch of the Angels brass back then, working with them and stuff like that. And they were there for like a week. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, they did stuff with the Dodgers too. And Sadahara O was up at my grandpa's house when I was a kid. I didn't know who he was, but and they had an interpreter and such. But for a minute there, my grandpa was actually looking to sign him, but he already said no. He wanted to get into being a manager, and which he ended up being the manager for the Giants later. But and another funny thing, just while we're on that topic, but Fidel Castro died recently.
Yep.
And my grandpa, was a manager in Cuba during the off season, and also a scout, and he was scouting University of Havana, and he liked this left-handed pitcher, had a good curveball, not a very good fastball, but he figured, well, I could, teach him to hit locations, but you can't teach a curve like that. So he offered Fidel Castro a contract, and Castro said, "No, I think I'm going to finish up school and try to do something here." And obviously history would have been written a little differently had he taken that bus league contract.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, it would have been a different place, definitely. And Fidel, love him or hate him, most everybody hates him. But he was a huge baseball man. And from what I understand, he was a decent baseball man. I mean, he knew about baseball. I mean, he knew the game. And
yeah, I'll give him that. I will tell you this. We had dinner with the Cuban players in 1988, and we were playing them in Indianapolis. And like Tino Martinez was on my team, and he speaks perfect Spanish, and I knew enough to kind of follow along the conversation. I'd ask him, what did he just say there? And anyway, I just flat out asked him, like, is it cool? Like, is your life like it is here in America as a baseball player? And he started laughing, and he said the only thing that they give them are clothes and a place to live. But they're out scrounging for food. I mean, it was nothing like what they weren't coddled. I guess is what I'm saying. They weren't.
Right.
And you would think like the Russian gymnasts, you would assume, they were getting treated like queens back in the day, despite all the poverty in the country. Well, it appears it wasn't like that for the Cuban baseball players. They were basically in dorm type scenarios, and even like with their families and stuff. It was more like being in the Army than it was being on a baseball team.
Right.
And those guys wanted out of there so bad. And I mean, one of the guys broke curfew that night and just to hang out with us. And we got him back in time and got him around the guards. But I mean, it was hardcore. And it was like quite an eye-opening experience, thinking that basically this guy, lucky him, he gets to play baseball, but, just because he's on that island and not on our big old landmass, it's a totally different way that he has to live.
Right.
And this guy was a major league shortstop. I can't remember his name, but he was their best player, and he could have been a major league shortstop, no doubt.
Well, there was ESPN did a 30 on 30 special on the Hernandez brothers, and they talked about coming over to America and playing on American soil, and they actually not only did they have coaches, but like one of the coaches would have like ties with like Cuba's Secret Service, and they also had flat out they had guards, and
right.
that kept them from defecting. And so yeah, I mean I couldn't imagine, but in that part of it, Fidel was not so great, but when it boils down to he knew the game of baseball. And
there's no doubt, and he wanted to win. That's why he put money into it. Like, he wanted to win. He didn't just like it. Like,
he loved it.
He was he created the best amateur team. Like, obviously, we couldn't compete because they had 30-year-old men playing against us when I was 19 or 20.
And that was what? Was that Industrialis?
Well, no, that was the Cuban national team.
Okay.
So they had their league. And then they cherry-picked the players from the league, and they created the Cuban national team.
Jeez.
And so, I mean, it was like him picking, the all-star team in the major leagues to play against. We would kill everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But because of the rules and the way it was set up, and that's why when they changed the Olympic rules, and like we set minor leaguers, I think it was 2000, and we won. It was with a bunch of minor leaguers, but we beat the Cuban pros. The guys that would have been pros had they allowed it, So it's a new dynamic, and I think it's going to be. I think it's great for baseball if, in fact, those Cuban players can now just like come on over and they get involved in the international draft, and they're now part of the talent pool. Then I think that's the best thing that happened recently with this whole Castro thing. I know people freaking hate him. I mean, like, they're burning his, and I totally get it. I have several friends who talk about, how they had to escape under conditions and et cetera. And, it's a tough one, but you're right. Like, he was a crazy ass baseball man, and so I guess that's one thing that you can say good about him. I guess
That is one of my things on my baseball bucket list, is to actually go to Cuba to catch one of their professional games. And I guess there's this square, I believe it's in Havana, I believe, that baseball fans, Cuban baseball fans, they gather there every day. And it's like maybe 1,000 of them, maybe, and they just talk baseball. And there's always, and it's funny because there's never any fights. There's always disagreements, but it's a gentleman deal. They get together, they drink whatever they drink, and eat whatever they eat, and they just talk baseball. And there's going to be disagreements, but unlike over here, there's never any fights. You never see fights breaking out. And in the end, they shake hands and they go on and they come back the next day and they do it all over again.
And that's the beauty of baseball, though, in general, is, those two games that have ever been played have ever been alike. It's something unexpected happens in just about every game that you'll ever see. And players step up, and players, visibly fail, and there's a narrative to it, and I think that's the charm of baseball that over other sports. And I think it also boils down to the fact that there's no clock.
Right.
And stuff just happens. Stuff just happens, and sometimes it happens in a split second. Like, you get up to go to the bathroom, and you come back, and there's 3 runs on board. You're like, what the hell did I just miss?
Right.
And and it's just, I've been really working a lot with hitters lately. And the the game was inside of the game, that I'm trying to teach these young kids. I mean, this kid I'm going to work with right now is he's already committed to Stanford, 6'2", 210, junior at the big school down here, Mater Dei, and unbelievable talent. But to my astonishment, he had never been told or understood sort of the mental dynamics of what you need to be thinking about, and the what everyone calls the approach of batting. And so he had a really tough sophomore year because the other teams are making adjustments, and he wasn't. He just kept going up there the same way that he had been doing since he was 5 years old, And they were just throwing it where he wasn't able to hit it. It was like that simple. And so we had the first meeting we had. It's just so funny. Like, here's a kid. If you were to put a picture of a perfect swing in a baseball instructional DVD, it would be this kid's. And I take a video of him. I'm like, dude, there's nothing wrong with your swing. We're not even going to talk about it. We're not even going to mess with your swing even one inch. What we need to talk about is what's between your ears.
Yeah.
And before I knew it, I got this kid to develop what we call like an aggressive mindset, and then also a two-strike approach to where you are being a little bit more defensive with 2 strikes in order to just get the ball in play. And the kid instantly took to the concept. And I work on every kid with this, but this kid was extraordinary because of his talent and how he picked it up. And, he went on all these showcases this summer and through the fall and ended up hitting over 430 since I've been working with him, cut his strikeouts way down, and his confidence is way up. And I look at that as that's a snapshot into like what even major leaguers go through as everybody makes an adjustment and you got to make one back. And it's not just let's go lift weights and run sprints. In baseball, there's way more to it. That chess match that goes on as well, And that's what I still think is why baseball is the best sport out there is all of the things inside of the game that make it so hard and so interesting at the same time,
Well, and coaching my 7-year-old nephew, and we're trying to, we're teaching them that baseball is a game of failure. And, it's unlike any sport to where you fail and you still can succeed. In baseball, it is what you do with that failure is what's going to help you succeed. Everybody strikes out. Everybody strikes out. There are going to be games that you're going to be given the golden sombrero because you're going to strike out 4 times in a game. It happens.
Right.
But it's all between the ears, like you said. And I've been kind of watching a little bit of what Steve Springer does with his mental approach. And
I was just going to bring his name up because I think, like, he and I were teammates, right? And that dude could throw the ball up. Like, it didn't matter who was on the mound, righty, lefty, side armor. That dude somehow figured out a way. Now, he wasn't a home run hitter. He just hit line drives right up the middle, basically, But it was uncanny how often he got his barrel on the ball, okay? Mm-hmm. But anyway, his philosophy, and I totally agree, it's basically it's more of a thought process of not your batting average. He says your batting average is poison. Forget your batting average. Your real average is your quality at bat percentage, and he has like a formula for quality at bats. And I love it. You walk, that counts as a hit in his world.
Yes.
You get hit by a pitch, that you move a runner over, that counts. You bunt somebody over, that counts. You square one up and the guy catches it, that counts. You make contact with 2 strikes, that counts. And so in his mind, you should be batting 600.
Right.
Like 60% of your at bats should be quality at bats. And this kid here that I'm working with is also like I call them the mopers. When one at bat goes bad, he's going to mope the rest of the game.
Yep.
And so I'm also trying to, and I was one of those guys too. I'm going to freely admit that, and I have to get through that. And then conversely, when this kid gets hit the double in his first at bat, the kid's going to go 4 for 4 and jump over the fence and steal home runs. He's an outfielder, and have an awesome game. So it's also the concept of momentum and confidence. And I'm trying to enable players to manufacture confidence where they could basically give themselves a pep talk when they're in the dumps and pull themselves back out using just basically mental exercises that are tried and true that our athletes have been using for decades. And these kids don't know anything about this, and you tell them, and right away they understand the validity of it, and they use it, and it works.
Yeah.
So,
It does.
My lesson today will be an hour and a half, and it'll probably be a half an hour of hitting and another hour in between of the hitting, talking about, concepts and actions that with technique, but also, what are you thinking here? What would you be doing in this situation? So again, that's the part where I know it's December, whatever, but yeah, it's baseball season, so. It's all good.
It's always baseball season in my house, and my wife gets on me because I will be like, there's some nights that I'll sit on the laptop and I'll watch a Venezuelan league game or a Dominican game,
Yep.
Something in Spanish where I don't understand a lot of it, but I'm watching baseball. Or I'll pick up like an Australian, the Winter League down there, I'll pick up their
Right.
feed, and I'm always watching baseball. I pick a couple of guys out that I have contacts with, and I follow them throughout the winter, and it's always baseball season in my world, man.
Exactly, and I do the same. I actually plug my phone into my TV through one of those pluggy thingies, and it goes into the HDMI to the back, and then boom, it's on my big screen, and love it. Yeah, I'm the same way, and same with the depending on the country, man. The Puerto Rican announcers, you can't keep up with them. They ramble that stuff. But Mexico, I can almost keep up with them. They're a little bit slower,
Yeah. Venezuela's the same way, man. Holy cow, they're very passionate. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And so, did you see? Talking about hitting, did you see Pete Rose giving a hitting demonstration with who was it? Frank Thomas, A-Rod, and somebody else during the World Series?
Yeah, A-Rod.
And I mean, it was so simplified,
Well, and that's exactly what I teach, and that I was taught. But basically, like, think about, and this is I do a demonstration for kids, and I lay on the ground like 15 baseballs. I lay them straight in the line, going right over the center of home plate. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go, give me your bat. And I said, if you have a good swing and you can get, we always call it getting inside, and that's a whole concept that, it takes a minute to get someone to understand what the concept of inside of the ball. But it's like, when it's morning on the Western Hemisphere and there's light on it and it's dark on the Eastern Hemisphere, like that's the inside of the ball would be the light part, right? So you want to get your bat on the inside part of the pitch as it's coming at you. So when you lay down these 15 baseballs on the ground, you can prove to a kid that if you're late, you can still hit this last baseball to right field, and then all the way along these 15 baseballs, your bat, the sweet spot of your bat is going to be in line with the pitch, and that's what Pete was kind of demonstrating is that you can basically take a pitch down the middle and hit it to all three fields, and then if the baseball situation dictates that you need to hit it. I don't know any baseball situation really that, other than maybe hit and run, and the shortstop's covering, that you try to pull the ball as a righty. You almost always hit it to right. But that's the beauty of understanding what Pete was saying is that you can take a pitch right down the middle and do whatever you want with it. You just have to be, and this goes back to the mental preparation, the mental side. Trust me, before the pitch came, Pete already knew in his mind what he was going to do with it.
Right.
Unlike the kid I'm working with, who's just like see ball, hit ball. That's not going to do it. So that's the other part to it that I think is way under talked about is the concept that big league hitters, pro hitters, college hitters, and good high school hitters, you don't have time to see the ball. And everyone always says see the ball, and then if it's a strike, swing. There's no chance of you doing that against a guy throwing 90-something.
Right.
Basically, it's the opposite. So you're actually, and this is hard to think about, but it's actually like you are swinging no matter where it is until you recognize that it's a bad pitch. And to get these kids that I'm working with to understand that, but Pete understood that because he was so aggressive. He was swinging at every pitch. Unless it wasn't a good pitch, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's something where it's a game changer when these, because now when you're thinking about swing, you actually can get your bat head a good foot further in front of where it is normally because of the change you made mentally. You know what I mean? Like, you don't change your swing, you just change your thinking, and now your bat head is a foot further out front, and that's where the power is at. That's where guys hit balls over the moon, you know. So these are all like super like things that I totally took for granted that I knew when I was about 8 years old, and I marvel that kids who are going to Stanford, for example, like have never heard of these concepts. You know, he's got a major league coach as his coach. Adam Kennedy is one of his coaches. You know, and it's just like, you know, I just think it's unfortunately it's glossed over or it's not looked at as important as, you know, telling the kids where the cutoff man should be lined up. You know, I understand that part of it. You know,
right.
But you know, like Steve Springer is a great example. Like he works for the Toronto Blue Jays specifically to deal with
as a mental coach.
As a mental coach,
yep.
Specifically to do that. And I've thrown my name out to a couple of teams, and the teams that I've talked to, they all have somebody in that role. I've actually, you know, been trying to get in touch with the Mariners, you know, through a couple of friends and so on. But to me, we never had that when I played, and I knew it from a class that I took at USC, and I wrote about it in my book, Born into Baseball. And then I actually recently, I actually did 38 of my stories. I recorded myself live,
yes.
just me and a microphone, and I just called it Born into Baseball Improvised. And I told the story about visualization and also competitive drives. To me, the two most important things that make players or don't make them. And I just think to me that is something that the best players in baseball do. Even the young kids like Bryant, you know, I know he has some form of mental approach, some form of discipline.
And Trout, I mean, all those guys.
All those guys, and even despite his young age, you know, he's honed his mental skills down. His approach is like a 30-year-old. You know, yep. Corey Seager, same deal. And although sometimes I see him swinging out of his ass, but that's because part of his like approach is being hyper aggressive and early in the count, which I believe is the right way to do things. You know,
right? So
it's exciting to me to see, and then the pitchers also have the same sort of intensity mentally when they're out there. These kids are hitting spots at 95. You know, it's just, to me, I just think baseball's. I hate to say this. I mean, I think these guys are better. I mean, I just think they're better now than we were. They got better bodies, better nutrition, you know, better workout facilities and better mental approaches. You know, so we maybe had more elastic elbows because it seems like every one of these guys has Tommy John, even position players. But,
right.
But other than that, you know, you know, the Cubs winning last year, and I mean, to me, it's like I think baseball's, you know, alive and healthy, and we brought in some younger people this year, and still need to keep bringing in those younger people, you know, as fans.
Definitely agree. And so you mentioned Born into Baseball, the improvised. Where can you find that? I was listening to a little bit of that here this last week, and it's awesome. You know, for somebody like me who's not, you know, I don't do well reading books, but something like that, for me, that's awesome, and it's funny. I mean, you know, some of the stories you tell are great.
Thank you. I tried really, really hard, and I was successful. No F-bombs, except for the one. But I was pretending I was my boy Latz, who always had to use the F word in this one story that I told, and I was acting like it was him. So it was Latz that cussed, not me. But so it was also like kind of a fun experiment. You know, I'm a musician, and I've had music out there, and it's on iTunes, but I've never done it myself. Someone, you know, the producers or somebody did it. So, I put it on iTunes, and I clicked the button. So you can go to iTunes and just search on iTunes my name, Jim Campanis Jr., or Born into Baseball, and it shows up like you typed in Led Zeppelin. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, and it's inexpensive. It's like $7.99, I think.
Something like that, yeah. Well, I think there's a full version, and it's 3 hours long, and it's something like I think it's $1 a story, or it's I think it's 15 for the full thing.
For the full
like
thing?
another one, there's another one that has it for $9.99. So you can look around like Amazon MP3. But here's one of the other cool things that my son is a Spotify freak. And so he was in the car with me. He's a musician kid, and he's like too cool for school now. You know, I'm like, hey, go on Spotify, and he had it on, on the Bluetooth of my car. I go, yeah, type in my name real quick, and boom, there it was, and there he presses the button, and I'm telling the story on Spotify. So
how funny.
You can also just go to Spotify and check it out, but anyway, I guess it was one of those things where like I know how to record, I know how to edit because I do it as part of my job, and. Like, how can I not do these? Like, just lay it out. So I spent a weekend a couple of weekends ago, and I just laid it out and then came back and did some editing. And, I'm actually pleasantly surprised with the outcome of how it turned out. So
I thought it turned out well. And so the book is doing well.
Hanging in there, yeah. We've got, the off-season is obviously a little bit different, but I've been getting some holiday orders right now. I'm offering what I call the bonus CD. You got to be a marketing freak in this thing,
Right.
So anyway, it's like you buy the book and then you get an hour's worth of stories told that are excerpts from the improvised CD, and I just slip it into the book, and that's autographed by my dad and I, and that's one that's available at bornintobaseball.com. I'm actually delivering 2 books to an old high school friend. Today we just we wanted to catch up, and so we're going to grab a lunch, and I got 2 books with me, and so it's it's not like it was when I first released the book where it was like, wow, this is awesome. It's obviously slowed down quite a bit, but it's more now turned into a thing where other things are approaching. Like, for example, I'm going to be the keynote speaker at the Professional Baseball Players Association banquet. They have an annual banquet every year. And so there'll be about 300 people there. And, when I was a kid, we'd sit next to Sparky Anderson at these things or somebody like that.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's going to be in Long Beach, California here, and it's in late January. So my dad's going to join me. We're going to do a PowerPoint presentation in front of everybody, and, so that's been the other part to it. I've been going out and doing speeches and on tours, and you and I got to grab a bite, in the middle of one of my tours in the summer
with your dad and my stepson Connor. He still talks about that, by the way. He's not a baseball fan, but he brings that up every once in a while. He thought that was pretty cool. He still chuckles about your dad. Your dad showed him the World Series. And Connor was like, yeah, I've seen 3 of those. with the Giants.
That's cool,
but,
yeah. And it's been fun for my dad and I, too, going on this, a lot of these, he doesn't go to every single one of these presentations, but he tries to go to most. And
right.
It's been fun. He and I, we spoke at the Angels Booster Club and also the Dodger Booster Club. And, of course, the Dodger Booster Club, people just... he was in his Dodger uniform and then the whole thing, his jersey, and but it's been a lot of fun. And this spring we're looking to get into down to spring training. Originally, I was going to release another book, and my publisher's like, "Do you understand? Like, we haven't even started marketing your book like on our end. We need to. It takes a while, and I just didn't know all this stuff. So
right.
We're going to delay my other book for another year." And then I'm going to put that out in like April of 2018 probably. But it's this is part of the thing that no one really told me about, but I assumed it was all part of the deal. And it's a lot better than sitting around on the couch watching TV. I like getting out and doing stuff and making it happen.
Right. And so then you also got a new thing going on, the Catchers Union. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I got the shirt on actually right now, but I had and this is another cool thing that happened because of the book. So I wrote a story in the book called Catchers Union, and it details how us catchers, since the beginning of time, have been gluttons for punishment, and we all we find ourselves like bound together in this position, even guys on other teams, and you very rarely see a catcher brawl. Like you see goalie brawls and
Right.
hockey all the time. You never see catcher and catcher going at each other because like we have a bit of a mutual respect thing going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they got 2 catchers and we got 2 catchers. So there's 4 guys out of these 50 players who are catchers. You know what I mean? So this catchers union thing had a few what we call privileges, and I detailed these in the book. And they were just mundane things like, you know, all right, I'll throw you a fastball on the first pitch of your first at bat if you'll do the same for me, you know. Yeah, you can use my gear if your gear breaks. If your glove breaks, you can use my glove. I mean, just common decency stuff, right? So there's a kid, he's a catcher at University of Arkansas, Razorbacks. And actually, they're the Little Rock campus, so it's a different campus, but University of Arkansas. So he texts me on Facebook and says, and he's a super cool Texas farm boy and calls me sir and stuff. He's like, sir, I really liked your book, and I really like that story, Catchers Union. I'm a catcher at Arkansas, and I think you should start like a lifestyle thing, like baseballism. I know, Norm, you have a sponsorship with them, and I just thought, well, my gosh, that's a brilliant idea. Where in marketing we call it a brand extension. So first of all, it's a brand extension from Born Into Baseball, but secondly, this lifestyle thing, like catchers do have their own lifestyle. There's their own way of playing baseball. So. It was more like, let's just see. It's like a fun experiment, you know. I ended up losing a few $100 so far, but the bottom line is, it was just fun to kind of, do these sort of things that I like to do, and people seem to enjoy I started a little Facebook page and got a few hundred catcher guys, and Scott Service from the Mariners. I don't even know if he knows that it's me that's involved in it, but he ordered a hat.
Oh, how funny!
So I sent him a hat. I also sent him a T-shirt, and I sent him a little note, like in case you didn't know, because he was my roommate on Team USA.
Right.
So anyway, yeah. So but it's just been kind of fun, and I went on Thanksgiving. Like half my family were catchers. And they had heard about it, and I just happened to have a box of shirts in my car. And before you know it, they all garnered about half of them. Like, all right, I guess you guys can have them. Sure. Merry Christmas, early presents, So it's all good though. It's been fun. And the main reason I did it, unbelievably, is I got CatchersUnion.com, and now I just have it going to my bookstore.
Right.
But there's
nice.
some hats and some T-shirts left, and honestly, like. I need to reassess some of the items that I would like to order because of just the nature in which that business works. It's a little tougher than I thought, and I got other things going on than being a T-shirt guy. But
right.
But it's been fun. I wear it everywhere, and people ask me about it. So
Nice. All right, so let's end with this. So we all love music. Music and baseball go hand in hand. And so today we'll go around the circle, you, me, Brian. We're going to go favorite Christmas songs. Brian, no looking up Christmas music.
Brian, go first, right?
All right, Brian
Sure.
goes first.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it. Santa is Coming to the Ghetto, James Brown.
Ooh.
Nice.
Love that song. Great beat, and it's different. You don't hear it all like everything else.
Right. All right, Jim.
Yeah, for me, and this is going to have to be like, you have to Google it, okay? But when I was in radio in Phoenix, we had a super great relationship with this guitar virtuoso guy named Gary Hoey.
Yep.
And Gary Hoey, at that time, he created a Christmas album that has since become fairly like legendary amongst the shredder crowd, like the Joe Satriani group crowd,
Mm-hmm.
And his version of the Grinch is just absolutely epic. So if you get a chance, it almost sounds like a Marilyn Manson song at first, which is great. But check it out. It's The Grinch by Gary Hoey.
I have heard that because of Bill Prescott up here in Portland. He was a DJ with 101 KUFO and 92.3 KGON for years, and he was a big Gary Hoey guy. Actually, I think he's friends with Gary. Bill plays guitar. I'm going to keep mine simple, and Feliz Navidad by Jose Feliciano. I mean, that is absolutely.
I heard that in the record store the other day.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, Brian's kind of giving me the evil eye, but
I think Jim and I win this round right here.
I agree. I agree. So we'll go one more round, we'll go one more round because Brian wants to, and then we'll call it good. All right, Brian, what do you got?
Grandma got run over by a reindeer.
By who?
What's his name? Dr. What is his name?
I can't.
Demento?
Dr. Demento.
No.
I can't remember who it was.
I interviewed the guy, too, about 10 years on radio. He was a jerk. But we did interview him. God, can I give his name? I'll figure it out.
All right, Jim.
Well, I just love the beat of that Run DMC song. I think it's Christmas in Hollis.
Christmas
Queens
in
or something.
Hollis. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to go
So
with.
I'm not a big hip hop guy, but that one, I think I could roll with that one even in the summer. You know,
I remember.
That's a cool one.
I remember the video on MTV when MTV actually played videos.
Right.
And so I'm going to go with Christmas at Ground Zero by Weird Al.
All right.
Ooh, good one. Good one.
And so,
All right.
once again, Mr. Jim Campanis Jr. Hey, Jim, where can we pick up Born into Baseball?
Yeah, so the autograph copies, they are also include a bonus CD of Born into Baseball Improvised, an hour's worth, and that's at bornintobaseball.com. And then you can also go on to iTunes to check out Born into Baseball Improvised, and you can listen to it on Spotify by searching either Born into Baseball Improvised or my name. And then, of course, Facebook at Jim Campanis Jr. and Twitter at Jim Campanis Jr. And Instagram at Jim Campanis Jr. So all over the place, all out there. Love to talk to people, chat with them about about baseball, obviously. But it's been, like I said, it's been quite a fun ride, this author boy thing, and I'm enjoying it.
Check it out, Born into Baseball. In fact, Born into Baseball is on my Christmas list for the baseball fan for 2016, and it's got some great stories in there. And I remember when you were first throwing these stories out there before the book was, came into thought. And
Yeah.
I loved them then. I still love them. And man, you and your dad, one of the great baseball families. There's a handful of baseball families. Grandpa Al and Jim and yourself, and you guys are up there. Hey, once again, thank you for coming on the show with us. We always love having you on.
Yeah, thank you, Norm. That's great. I always enjoy being on the show with you guys as well.
And tell your dad I said hi and that I haven't forgot about him. So
okay, I sure will.
I definitely want to get him on the show, and it's just we gotta track that down. So
for sure, yeah. And just let me know. I can help communicate through to get to him. He's good at returning calls and returning emails and all that stuff.
All right, sounds good. Hey. Have a good Christmas, and we'll catch up to you later.
All right. Merry Christmas, guys.
All right.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Jim Campanis Jr., man, and we didn't even get into, any of the North Pole Knicks stories, and which I'm sure you could find some of them in the book. And, man, he's got some good ones. The Catchers Union, and Brian, what you got? Something?
You've had him on so many times that you think, yeah, cool, it's Jim Campanis Jr. again. But then there's always something different. He's got new. More stories. It's cool. It's exciting, and he's a great interview.
Absolutely. So, man, a lot happened this weekend. Army beat Navy.
Yeah, there you go. First time in, 14 years?
Army beat Navy. Also, a true American hero, John Glenn, passed away this week. I know people, put athletes out there as heroes and stuff. John Glenn was a true American hero, astronaut, Marine, pilot. Overall a great man. And what else we got, Brian?
Not sure.
That's it.
We're getting ready for another show here quickly.
Hey, so stay with us. We got Lauren Hernandez Roy coming up next, and there's a story behind this one. This one is going to be this interview is like no other for me, and so it's a little bit different. So Lauren will be on with Lauren here at 9:30. So stay tuned. We are sponsored by baseballisms.com. If you like my hat or my shirt, baseballisms.com. Great Christmas. They're also up on my Christmas list for 2016. Baseballdudes.com. Chris Gazelle up there in Vancouver, Washington. To be the best, you must train like the best. Base by Pros. Mitch Canham up there in Washington, building an athlete sports education. His dad, Mark Canham, MDM Designs, does our shirts for Clubhouse Chatter. And we stream live on YamhillToday.com. We also have Yamhill Sports Today, or YST, which we will be starting up again here soon. We are on Twitter, Clubhouse Chatter 1T, Facebook, YouTube, iTunes. Where else? MLB.com blogs. Check us out, Clubhouse Chatter. Hey, we'll be back at 9:30.